Hi, thanks for joining me. My name is Susan McVeigh. I am a business sales strategist and I help entrepreneurs just like you close more sales with more ease without the sleaze so that you can make money and impact while living your life of freedom and flexibility. So today I'm in here talking really quickly about the three skills that all of the best salespeople have. And hint, it's not what you're thinking, because so often what I hear from entrepreneurs and business owners is I don't know how to sell. I'm not a salesperson. I feel really gross and icky and sleazy and pushy when I have to like sell, but I know I need sales. I know that my business needs to make money in order for it to be a legitimate business. So what am I to do? I didn't get into business because I wanted to sell. I got into business because I love what I do. So if this sounds like you, this is what we're talking about today. If you feel like this would be helpful to somebody else, go ahead and you can tag them below so that they're going to be able to take a listen in. If you are on here live, please feel free to say hello. And if you're on the replay, please feel free to say hello as well. So here are the three main things. And my goal is to keep this short and sweet, 20 minutes or less. Okay, that's my goal. So number one is that you have to have a service mindset. So we're going to be talking not so much about tactics and strategies in today's lesson. It's really going to be about how you approach sales and the skills that you have that honestly you probably already have within you. You don't need to learn anything new, but you need to apply them in a different way in order to be successful at sales. And yes, you're going to incorporate strategies and tactics as well. But for the most part, what I'm finding is that even if you have the right strategies and tactics, you have the know-how and the knowledge, you're not applying them because of the way that you feel about sales. And this is going to break that down. So number one is you need to focus on sales being of service and ultimately that you're helping people, because receiving money for what is very easy for you is just a simple exchange of goods or other goods. Like, so what I want you to think about is in the olden days, if you had a cow that you had surplus of, right? Like you had extra cows, you need to sell the cow, you would go to the market and you would either trade it or sell it for something else that you need. And that could be in the form of gold coins. It could be in the form of like beans, right? It could be in the form of flour or grain, whatever it is that you deemed of value that is the equivalent for what you are trying to give away, which is your cow. And so I want you to think in the very simplest of terms that your cow is your gift and you're just trading it for somebody else's cow, which in this case, hopefully is money. Okay. And that's it. It's just a cow for a cow. And if you think of it in that way, that you're helping somebody else, you're serving them. And because of the service that you're providing, they're giving you the equivalent back in value. That's it. It's very simple. There's no emotion attached to it. There's no stories attached to it. There's no, I'm better, he's better, she's better, they're better. It's just, here's the cow, here's the flour. Let's trade. We're good. Here's the cow. Here's 5 bags of gold. We're good. That's it. Because it's of service to the person that you are providing that good and service to, that they actually say, hey, this is helpful for me. I need a cow. I need whatever it is that you are offering me. So I'm going to give you what it is that you need from me because you're going to give me what I need, which is the cow. I hope this is making sense. Okay. So number one is that you have to have that service mindset, because ultimately people can smell a fraud. Like they can feel when all it is that you want to do is just to sell the thing, and you don't really care about them. You don't care about the product. You don't care about the service. Maybe you don't even believe in it. And I know that for you in this group, in this community, that you really are coming from your heart and soul. And if anything, this is the area that you are leading with the most, but it is making you feel uncomfortable when you have to receive money because you feel like that's maybe not of service. It is of service to you. It is of service to your business. It is of service to your family who are relying on you and the income that you're providing through the time and the effort that you're spending to create that good or service. And yes, even though it might be easy for you, what I want you to think about is it's not easy for that other person who's looking for your help. So if ultimately you are serving them, then you have to be okay with receiving the money in exchange in order to give them that gift. right? You have to give them something, they're going to give you something back. And so ultimately, if you have that heart of service, you have to get over the fact that you are asking for money in exchange. It does not make you a bad person. Let's face it, nowhere in the Bible does it say that God wants us to be poor. In fact, God wants us to be good stewards of his gifts and to be able to be financially responsible. And for those that are doing all of the things that we need to do, you will receive in abundance. And so often what I see is you are blocking yourself because you're serving, like giving, over givers unite. So let me know in the comments if you, this is you, if you are giving and people actually want to give back to you and you're blocking it, you're saying, no, that's okay. But secretly in the back of your mind, you're like, wait, why did I say that? Because I've done this. And I say, oh, no, that's okay. And yet that person wants to give me as well. And so what I want you to think about is some people's love language. So if you're not familiar, go and check out, I think it's the5lovelanguages.com. Gary's, I'm going to butcher his name, Gary Subak. So he talks about the 5 love languages, how people demonstrate they care for you. Some individuals, their love language is gifts. And so that could be in the form of an actual item, but also in the form of money. And so if somebody likes buying stuff and it makes them feel good about themselves and it helps you, then you are denying them a gift as well. They're giving you something that is important to them, which is money or service or words or whatever it is. And if you're preventing yourself from being able to receive it, you're preventing them from giving you a gift. So in being service oriented, you have to allow yourself to not only give, but ultimately also be okay with receiving for the gifts that you are giving. And if it's only one-sided, you're going to feel very tired. Like you can't just keep giving. It's like giving from a bucket that's basically empty. And B, you'll grow to be resentful because eventually you won't enjoy it if you're not getting back what you are actually putting in. So I'm on my laptop and I don't see any comments. So if you're on here and you're commenting, I apologize in advance because I can't see anything and I don't know if it's just me. So if you're on here, do you mind just throwing up an emoji for me if you happen to be on here? That'd be great. Just so I know my system is working okay, because I don't know if it's me. So that's number 1, be service oriented. Number 2 is the best salespeople focus on what you can control, and that is done with intention. So when I used to hire, train, fire all of my salespeople, and even with the clients that I've worked with now in the online space, it's really easy to get caught up in just the result. Like, if I do this, I'm going to get that. Well, it doesn't always work that way. And the best salespeople don't focus necessarily. You have to have goals. You have to know what the outcome is, but you don't get so attached to the outcome that you forget about what it's going to take to get you there, and that you forget about what it is that you can control. So here's the thing, as a salesperson, as a business owner, you cannot control if people say yes or no. And I'm going to go against the grain. Yes, you can persuade and motivate people to come to a conclusion that might be more favorable, but ultimately, you already know. You cannot change people's behavior. You can't railroad them into doing something. That's when they feel pressured. That's when their back is against the wall. And ultimately, as a business owner, that's when you start seeing high refund rates. So if in your business, you are using more pushy, sleazy sales tactics, or you personally have gone through a situation where somebody has really pressured you into something, you weren't quite sure, and then you either wanted to return it or you did return it, or you asked for a refund, or worse, you just even used the product and you felt embarrassed to do anything about it because you just thought, oh, that was silly of me, instead of the other person that maybe pressured you into that situation. And so ultimately, as a business owner, and really as the salesperson for your business, the only thing that you can control is how many people see your offer and how many times you actually are actively promoting. So your marketing and your sales are connected, okay? However, so often we market, like you're just talking to a whole bunch of people, and then nothing happens on the backside. You're not converting. There is an issue with your sales process if that's the case, which means that we need to go back to the drawing board and see, are you talking to the right people? Are you saying the right things in front of those right people? And ultimately, how are you leading them to be able to say yes to you for those that are ready? And if all of those line up, then things are going to hopefully turn into a sale. But if you are praying and wishing and hoping for sales, but you're actually not doing the front end activity that you control, which is how many people are you talking to? How many times are you actually asking people to engage in a conversation or take a look at your sales page or look at your offer, consider what it is that your product or solution does for them and telling them about what it is that you can do. If you're not doing that enough every single day, then you can't expect to have sales on the back end. I hope that's making sense. Thank you, Lori. So the only thing that you can focus on as a business owner is what you control, which is your activities. How many people do you talk to? How many platforms are you promoting or speaking on? And how many times are you actually engaging or encouraging individuals to look at your offer, think about your offer, talk about your offer, ask questions about what it is that you offer, in order to be able to actually have a conversation with individuals who are potentially going to buy from you. So depending on the product and service, your activities might look slightly different, but ultimately it's really about visibility and engagement with a very clear marketing message that is ultimately going to lead to sales. And if you are completing higher end programs or services, you're either going to have one-on-one conversation, either like over the phone, through video, whatever that medium or platform that you're most comfortable with, or via like texting, chatting, WhatsApping, Facebook messengering, like inbox messages. It's still a one-on-one dialogue where you actually are going back and forth with one person and not talking to a whole bunch of people or having a sales page or some kind of communication speak for you, generally speaking. Okay. So that is number two, is that the best salespeople don't worry about all of the stuff. They only worry about really you, what you can do, what you're focused on every single day, and being really intentional with those activities such that they are going to translate into getting in front of the right people, talking more to your ideal clients or your ideal buyers, and ultimately helping them to move down that journey of that opportunity to buy. I hope that's making sense. Making sense? Okay. So the last one, number three, is probably the most important. And I think this is an area that most of you could probably relate to, especially if you're more on the introverted side, but definitely this applies regardless of personality, regardless of extroversion or introversion, and regardless of your background. It is a skill that every single one of you has and that can be improved upon with practice. Just like everything else, practice makes better. So number three, the skill is listening. And it's not just plain old listening to anything, it's listening with intent. It's called active listening. It's actually, there is a category for it. Active listening is where you actually ask a very specific question. And then instead of thinking about another question, you are actively listening to the answer. That's it. And I know it sounds really simple, but the best salespeople, if you actually take the time to observe and watch and listen and learn, they ask very few questions. They're more open-ended than close-ended, which means that somebody has to answer not using yes or no. They have to answer using a lot of words. And the purpose behind that is to get a lot of information within a shorter period of time. So as an example, if I used 5 questions that are all open-ended right at the very beginning of my conversation, I'm probably going to have, I would say on average, my conversation from the person talking back to me is going to be a good 15 to 20 minutes of my potential client talking to me, and the amount of time that I've spent talking is maybe 5%, just to ask the questions. And that takes practice, it takes skill, and it is something that all of you can do. You can do this immediately. So what I want you to think about is, are you actually listening to people when they speak? Or are you having a worry? Are you jumping ahead in the conversation? Or what I used to do, are you answering for them in your own head? And so you don't even hear what they actually have answered back to you, because it's really important that you are listening and using their words when you confirm their answers, when you continue on with more questions, because ultimately you feel heard when I use your words. Does that make sense? I hope that's making sense. So, when you take the time to ask really good, meaningful questions, and there is a process involved to help you to get to the answer sooner, better, and faster with higher quality. That is a process that I have developed and honed in after 2 decades of training hundreds of thousands of salespeople and being in front of, gosh, tens of thousands of clients. So there is a process that you can follow. However, trial and error. You can do this on your own as well. You can just practice. And the more you practice, the better you're going to get. But the main thing here is you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention not only to the answers that the questions provide to you and whether or not they are the right answers to help you move forward in your business, but ultimately you have to see, have I asked the questions in the proper order in order to make sure that I am leading clients down a path that is the most natural for them to engage in a decision-making process and to ultimately say yes or no to what it is that I offer to them. I hope that's making sense. Yeah? Okay. So let me just take a quick look and see, because I don't see any questions coming in. Those were the three, so I'm going to quickly recap. I'm going to quickly recap if I can actually remember. So number one is to focus on serving instead of selling, and being open to receiving and not just giving all the time. Like, those two are connected. Number two is to focus on what you can accomplish and what you can control, and being intentional with those activities and not worrying about everything else that ultimately you don't have control over. And number three is this last one, which is to make sure that you are actively listening and using really good quality questions instead of worrying or presupposing answers or jumping ahead in the process before you've act. So you have to really stay present with somebody when you do this instead of moving too fast forward, because otherwise you miss little clues that are going to be really critical to helping you and ultimately your clients as you're working through the relationship and ultimately helping them to engage in that buying process with you, whatever that looks like for your product or service. So I hope this was helpful for you. My goal was to keep this short and sweet in under 20 minutes, and I am under the radar here, so which is great. If you want more information on how I might be able to help you, I'd love to have you over in our Sales Mastery Society. Comment below if you want any more information, where we have been diving deep into money momentum, which is really about how to get all of these pieces together in order to help you to create some quick cash and gain momentum in your business. Because let's face it, without cash and without money and without making sales, your business is not a real business. It is just an expensive hobby. So I hope this was helpful. I will be back in here next Monday to chat with you about another topic related to sales, marketing, and ultimately making the money that you need in your business. And if you have any questions for me, go ahead and post them in the comments. If you're on here live and you're asking questions, I apologize. I can't see anything for whatever reason. So if you have any specific things that I need to address, please make sure that you go ahead and tag me in your comment, and that will kind of trigger for me that you want me to answer specifically. Sometimes it's just a comment as to what I've discussed, as opposed to a very specific thing that you want my input on. So I will be back in here next week. If you missed the announcement around what's happening with these Monday Masterclasses, they will be up until the end of the month. And then a lot of the meatier ones are going to be moved over into my portal, Sales Mastery Society, for the members that are over in there. So you will have some time. You will have 3 days after each training session to be able to implement and execute and absorb. And then it's going to be moved over into Sales Mastery Society. So if you want longer term access, you need a little more time or support, then you can come on over and join us in there. Okay, so thank you so much, and I will talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.